Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive into the world of ADHD and VAST.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be exploring excerpts from ADHD 2.0 by Dr. Edward Hellawell and Dr. John Rady.
Okay.
And I think the goal here is to really try to give everyone listening a deeper and I think more nuanced understanding of these traits.
Yeah.
We want to debunk some myths, uncover some surprising truths, and explore actionable strategies for not just managing,
Right.
but really thriving with ADHD or VSDS.
I think one of the things that's so interesting about this book is it goes beyond just sort of defining what ADHD and VSD are and really looking at some of the latest research and really trying to help people understand sort of the why behind these traits and, new approaches for navigating the challenges that they present.
Absolutely. And, one of the most surprising things that I learned is that ADHD is often misconstrued as a lack of attention.
Yeah.
It's not that at all, is it?
It's not even close.
Yeah.
It's an overabundance of attention. It's almost like having a brain that's constantly scanning for stimulation.
Right.
Imagine a room full of conversations happening at once and you're trying to focus on just one.
Yeah.
That's what it's like for a lot of people with ADHD.
Yeah, wow. That's such a powerful image.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no wonder that traditional methods of, quieting the mind don't always work
Right.
for those with ADHD.
Right.
And speaking of these misconceptions, the book also challenges the idea that people simply grow out of ADHD.
Yeah. A lot of adults have learned to adapt and compensate for their ADHD traits, but that doesn't mean that the underlying brain wiring has changed.
Right.
In fact, the book talks about the concept of adult onset ADHD, where, life's increasing demands can trigger or exacerbate these traits.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how many people are out there struggling silently,
Absolutely.
unaware that, their struggles might stem from ADHD or VASD.
Totally.
So let's dive into, debunking some of these myths and I think paint a clearer picture of what it's actually like to live with these traits.
Absolutely. And I think a good place to start is, clarifying that we're using the current terminology ADHD rather than, outdated terms like ADD.
Right.
And it's also really crucial to remember that ADHD isn't a single monolithic condition. It presents in different ways. There are subtypes like inattentive, hyperactive, impulsive, and combined.
Right. And what's so interesting is that these traits are often invisible.
Right.
You can't always tell by looking at someone
Absolutely.
what their internal experience is like.
Exactly. Someone might appear calm and collected on the outside, but inside their mind, it's a whirlwind of thoughts and ideas.
Right.
Almost like popcorn kernels popping in every direction.
Oh, wow.
The book describes this as an intolerance of boredom, this constant need for stimulation.
Yeah. And it's not about, being intentionally difficult or defiant.
Right.
It's just how their brains are wired to operate.
Absolutely.
And speaking of wiring, the book introduces this fascinating concept of the lunatic lover poet to describe these unique strengths associated with ADHD and VSD.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really highlights how these traits often come bundled with incredible creativity, passion, and sensitivity.
Yes.
Think of, the artists, inventors, and entrepreneurs who have changed the world.
Right.
Many of them exhibited traits now associated with ADHD and VS.
It's like they have this boundless energy.
Right.
And this unique way of seeing the world that allows them to make these remarkable contributions.
Yeah.
But of course, it's not all sunshine and roses.
Right.
The book doesn't shy away from the challenges either.
Absolutely. The book acknowledges, those problematic aspects like disorganization, impulsivity, and the constant struggle with time management. That feeling of having a million ideas, but struggling to prioritize and execute them effectively.
Oh, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And the book's description of time management for those with ADHD and VSD really hit home for me. It's like their internal clocks only have two settings, now and not now.
Precisely.
Right.
And that can lead to a lot of frustration, both for individuals with these traits and those around them.
Sure.
But there's a fascinating explanation for this struggle with attention and focus, and it has to do with the way different parts of the brain communicate.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this brain talk.
Well, the book describes a glitch in the switch between two key networks in the brain, the default mode network, or DMN, and the task positive network, or TPN.
Okay.
Think of the TPN as your get stuff done mode.
Okay.
It's active when you're focused on a task.
Got it.
The DMN, on the other hand, is your inward reflection mode, active when you're daydreaming or reflecting.
So in a neurotypical brain, these networks seamlessly switch back and forth.
Right.
But for those with ADHD or VST, there's a bit of a snag in that system.
Exactly. The DMN can intrude on the TPN, pulling you away from tasks and into a whirlwind of internal thoughts. It's like trying to write an email while simultaneously planning your weekend getaway and mentally replaying a conversation from earlier.
No wonder it can be so challenging to stay on track.
Yeah.
But this glitch in the switch isn't the only interesting finding about the ADHD and VST brain.
Right.
The book also highlights a connection to a part of the brain we usually associate with balance and coordination, the cerebellum.
Yes. It turns out that the cerebellum plays a much bigger role in cognitive function than we previously thought. Dr. Jeremy Schmann's research, which the book goes into, suggests that the cerebellum is also involved in attention, emotional regulation, and learning new skills.
So if we can strengthen the cerebellum, could that potentially improve focus and impulse control for those with ADHD and VSD?
That's what the book explores, and it highlights some intriguing programs like Zing Performance and Brain Balance Achievement Centers that use targeted exercises to stimulate the cerebellum.
Balance and coordination exercises as a potential therapy for ADHD and VST.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Tell me more about these exercises.
Well, they range from, simple activities like standing on one leg to more complex movements, using wobble boards, and even juggling.
Juggling.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun challenge.
Right.
I mean, I can see how it would require a high level of focus, coordination, and timing.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that these exercises aren't just about physical improvement.
Right.
They seem to have a direct impact on cognitive function and attention regulation.
Wow.
The book even mentions some research involving motion sickness medication as a potential treatment, suggesting a link between the inner ear and ADHD and VSD.
It's amazing how this deep dive is challenging our assumptions.
Yeah.
And prompting us to think differently about ADHD and VST.
Absolutely.
It definitely highlights how much we still have to learn.
Totally.
About these complex traits and how interconnected different parts of our brains and bodies truly are.
Absolutely.
But before we delve deeper into, potential therapies, there's another crucial element we need to discuss.
You're talking about the power of connection, right?
Yeah. Yes. The book dives into the profound impact of positive connection.
Right.
Especially for those with ADHD and VST.
Right.
Who often face feelings of isolation and being misunderstood.
Absolutely.
I find this to be such an important topic.
Yeah.
The book brought up Dr. Filitti's ACE study.
Right.
Which reveals how detrimental childhood adversity can be, highlighting the need for positive connections as a sort of antidote.
And it's incredible how powerful love and connection can be.
Yeah.
In fact, the book shares this fascinating story from Kelly Harding's The Rabbit Effect,
Okay.
where rabbits who were shown kindness and affection actually had improved heart health.
Wow.
Imagine that love literally strengthening the heart.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But how does this relate specifically to ADHD and VST?
Well, for individuals with ADHD and VST who are often told they're too much or too different, positive connection can be incredibly validating and empowering.
Yeah.
It helps to counteract those feelings of isolation and create a sense of belonging.
It's like creating a safe space where those with ADHD and VST can feel seen, heard, and appreciated for who they truly are.
Exactly. And that sense of belonging can be incredibly powerful in helping them manage those racing thoughts and navigate the challenges that come with these traits.
So how can we foster more connection in our lives, especially for those struggling with these traits?
The book offers some great advice from simple things like prioritizing family meals and having pets, to getting involved in community activities and practicing gratitude.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as, expressing appreciation to someone can have a positive ripple effect.
Those are all wonderful ideas.
Yeah.
It's about creating those small, meaningful moments of connection that can make a big difference in someone's life.
Absolutely.
Earlier we touched upon the strengths that often accompany ADHD and VS.
Yeah.
I love how the book encouraged focusing on those, rather than getting bogged down by perceived weaknesses.
Absolutely. It's about shifting the focus from what's wrong to what's right, and recognizing the unique talents and abilities that often go unnoticed or even get mislabeled as problems.
The story of Alan, the rug-cleaning entrepreneur, really drove that point home.
Oh, yeah.
He saw opportunity where others saw only a nuisance.
Right.
Turning wrong number calls into a thriving business.
It's amazing.
That's a perfect example of the entrepreneurial spirit that often thrives in those with ADHD and VRS.
Totally.
They see the world differently.
Yeah.
And that can lead to some incredibly innovative solutions.
Right.
It reminds us that those with ADHD and VRS often have a knack for thinking outside the box.
Absolutely. And that's a strength to be celebrated and nurtured.
Yes.
The book even suggests tools like the Kolbe Index, which can help individuals pinpoint their natural strengths and preferred mode of operation.
Right.
It's all about understanding your unique way of working.
Yeah.
And finding environments that allow you to flourish.
It's about finding that right kind of difficult, where challenge and engagement align with your natural talents and passions.
Exactly. And when individuals with ADHD and VST find that sweet spot, they can achieve remarkable things.
This is so inspiring.
Yeah.
It's about empowering individuals to embrace their unique strengths.
Totally.
And create a life that truly aligns with who they are.
Absolutely.
But let's be realistic. Managing ADHD and VST still requires practical strategies, right?
Of course, the book delves into some really helpful tips for navigating daily life.
Okay.
And it all starts with structure, routine, and schedules.
I know some people might cringe at the thought of schedules.
Right.
But for those with ADHD and VST, structure can be a game changer.
Think of it as creating a supportive framework for that active mind.
Right.
The book suggests setting clear expectations, using visual reminders, and designating specific workspaces to minimize distractions and boost productivity.
And let's not forget about the impact of screens, especially for children.
Absolutely. Mindful screen management is crucial. The book highlights the potential for overstimulation from excessive screen time.
Right.
And emphasizes the importance of setting healthy boundaries.
It's about finding a balance that allows for connection and engagement with technology.
Right.
Without letting it become overwhelming.
Exactly.
Speaking of balance, the book also stresses the importance of a healthy lifestyle.
Right.
For managing ADHD and VST, we're talking regular exercise, a balanced diet.
And prioritizing sleep, which is essential for cognitive function and emotional regulation.
Right.
It's like recharging your battery so you can operate at your best.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Yeah.
It's about creating a lifestyle that supports both the body and the brain.
Exactly. Those healthy habits, combined with the strategies we've discussed, can significantly improve how individuals manage and thrive with ADHD and VST.
There's one more piece of the puzzle we need to address.
Okay.
Medication.
Ah, yes, medication.
Yeah.
It's often a controversial topic when it comes to ADHD and VS.
It definitely sparks a lot of debate and strong opinions.
Yeah.
But as always, we're here to approach this with a balanced and informed perspective.
Absolutely. The book emphasizes that medication, when prescribed and used responsibly, can be an effective tool for managing ADHD and VST.
Yeah.
It's not about fixing someone, but about providing support for those who need it.
And it's important to remember that medication isn't a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right.
It's about finding the right approach for each individual.
Absolutely.
In consultation with a qualified healthcare professional.
Absolutely. The book dives into the science behind stimulant medications.
Okay.
The most commonly prescribed type for ADHD.
Right.
Explaining how they work to improve focus and impulse control by influencing dopamine and norepinephrine levels in the brain.
Could you refresh our memories on what dopamine and norepinephrine are?
Yeah.
And why they're so crucial for attention?
Yeah, so dopamine is involved in reward and motivation. You know, it gives us that feeling of satisfaction when we achieve something. Think of it as your brain's feel-good chemical.
Got it.
Norepinephrine, on the other hand, helps regulate alertness and focus.
So with ADHD and VAAs, is there like a lack of these chemicals in the brain? Is that what medication is correcting?
It's not as simple as a shortage.
Okay.
It's more about how these chemicals are regulated and utilized in the brain.
Got it.
Stimulant medications help to improve the efficiency of these neurotransmitter systems.
Okay.
Sort of like fine-tuning the signaling process.
So it's like giving those bicycle brakes a much-needed upgrade.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
The book also mentions other medication options, such as non-stimulants, modafinil, and amantadine.
Okay.
These medications work in different ways, but ultimately aim to enhance attention and focus.
It's fascinating how many different approaches exist for managing ADHD and VST.
Right.
Each targeting, various aspects of brain chemistry and function.
Totally.
But what about concerns regarding side effects?
Yeah.
I often hear this from people hesitant about medication.
Side effects are definitely something to consider, and it's crucial to have an open and honest conversation with your doctor about potential risks and benefits.
Right.
The book mentions some common side effects associated with stimulant medications, such as irritability, decreased appetite, and sleep disruptions.
It sounds like those side effects could potentially outweigh the benefits for some individuals.
It's possible, which is why close monitoring and communication with your doctor are essential.
Right.
The book also notes that these side effects can often be managed by adjusting the dosage or timing of the medication.
Okay.
It's about finding that sweet spot where the benefits outweigh the risks for each individual.
And what about long-term effects? I know that's a significant concern for many people.
Yeah, long-term effects are still being studied, but the book highlights that responsible use of medication under the guidance of a doctor hasn't been shown to have, significant negative impacts on health.
So like any medication, it's important to use it wisely and follow your doctor's instructions. What about the potential for addiction? That seems to be a big fear surrounding stimulant medications.
It's a valid concern, but the book cites research indicating that individuals with ADHD treated with stimulant medications are actually less likely to develop substance abuse problems than those who are untreated.
Wow, that's surprising.
Yeah.
So medication, when used responsibly, might actually be protective against addiction.
That's what the research suggests.
Wow.
And it underscores the importance of addressing ADHD and VSD
Right.
rather than ignoring or dismissing these traits.
It's about providing the right support and treatment
Right.
to help individuals thrive.
Absolutely.
The book also mentions the possibility of using genetic testing to guide medication selection.
That's a fascinating development.
Yeah.
Genetic testing can provide valuable information about how an individual might metabolize and respond to different medications.
It's like personalized medicine.
Yeah,
Tailoring treatment to each individual's unique genetic makeup.
exactly. And as genetic testing becomes more accessible, it has the potential to revolutionize how we approach medication for ADHD and VSD.
Wow. That's a lot to consider about medication.
Yeah.
It's clear that this is a complex topic
Right.
that requires careful consideration and consultation with a qualified professional.
Absolutely.
Before we move on to part 2 of our deep dive, I want to touch on something else that really resonated with me from the book.
Okay.
And that was the emphasis on creating a work environment
Yes.
that truly aligns with the strengths of those with ADHD and VS.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot
Right.
where passion, talent, and opportunity intersect.
The book even offers specific suggestions for what that ideal work environment might look like.
Right.
It talks about finding a workplace with low fear and high trust,
Yeah.
where honesty and initiative are encouraged,
Right.
a place that embraces flexible structures
Yeah.
and allows for movement and breaks,
Absolutely.
and a culture that celebrates individual strengths and encourages collaboration.
It's about moving away from that traditional one-size-fits-all work model and creating environments where individuals with ADHD and VS can truly thrive.
Yes.
And it's not just about the physical space.
Right.
It's about the culture and values of the organization.
So it's about finding a workplace that celebrates neurodiversity
Absolutely.
and recognizes the unique contributions that individuals with ADHD and FITS
Yes.
can bring to the table.
Precisely. And as awareness of ADHD and VS grows,
Right.
we're seeing more and more organizations recognizing the value
Yeah.
of these diverse perspectives and creating more inclusive work environments.
That's a fantastic shift to witness.
It is.
It's about creating a world where everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute their unique talents.
Absolutely.
I think we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
You have.
We've explored the reality of living with ADHD and VS,
Yeah.
delved into the science behind those glitchy switches in the brain,
Yeah.
and even tackled the complex topic of medication.
Absolutely. And we've highlighted the importance of connection, focusing on strengths, and creating supportive environments that allow individuals with ADHD and VS to truly flourish.
Join us in part 2
Yes.
as we continue to explore this fascinating world of ADHD and VS, where we'll delve deeper into practical strategies for managing these traits and harnessing their incredible potential.
Awesome.
I can't wait.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into ADHD and VS.
It's amazing how much we covered in the first part. We talked about debunking myths, understanding the brain science, and even exploring the role of medication.
And in this part, let's shift our focus to those practical strategies for not just managing, but truly thriving with ADHD or VSD, because as we've seen, these traits often come with unique strengths and a different way of experiencing the world.
Exactly. It's not about trying to fit into a mold that doesn't quite work, but about finding strategies that help you leverage those strengths and navigate the world in a way that feels authentic and empowering.
And one of the key themes the book emphasizes is the importance of structure and routine. It might seem counterintuitive for a brain that craves novelty and stimulation, but creating a supportive framework can actually be incredibly liberating.
It's like providing those bicycle brakes we talked about earlier for that Ferrari brain. It helps to channel that energy and focus in a productive way. Can you give us some specific examples of what this structure might look like in daily life?
Absolutely. The book talks about creating a supportive home and work environment with clear expectations, visual reminders, and designated workspaces. It's about minimizing distractions and creating a sense of order that can help calm that internal whirlwind.
It's like setting up your environment for success, right? Making it easier to focus on the task at hand without getting pulled in a million different directions.
Precisely, and those visual reminders can be especially helpful for those with ADHD and VAST, who often thrive on visual cues and prompts. Think sticky notes, calendars, whiteboards, anything that helps externalize those thoughts and ideas.
It's like giving your brain an external hard drive to store all those important reminders and to-dos.
Exactly, and another crucial aspect of creating structure is establishing routines. This might involve setting specific times for waking up, going to bed, working, or even relaxing. Having these set patterns can create a sense of predictability and help those with ADHD and VIAST feel more grounded.
I imagine this can be especially helpful for those who struggle with time management. It's like providing those internal clocks with some external cues to help them stay on track.
Absolutely, and while routines provide structure, the book also emphasizes the importance of flexibility. It's about finding that balance between having a framework and allowing for spontaneity and adjustments when needed. Because let's face it, life rarely goes exactly according to plan, and those with ADHD and VIAS often thrive on a bit of unpredictability.
It's like having a roadmap, but being open to exploring those interesting side roads along the way.
Precisely. And speaking of detours, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or perhaps I should say the screen in the pocket technology. The book highlights the potential for screens to be both incredibly helpful and incredibly distracting, especially for those with ADHD and VSD.
Oh, I can relate to that. It's so easy to get sucked into the vortex of social media emails and notifications. It's like our brains are wired to crave that constant stimulation.
Exactly. And while technology can be a powerful tool for connection learning and even productivity, it's essential to use it mindfully, especially for those with ADHD and VASD who might be more susceptible to its allure.
So what are some strategies for managing screen time and preventing it from becoming a source of overwhelm and distraction?
The book suggests setting specific times for checking emails and social media, using apps that limit screen time, and even designating certain areas as screen-free zones.
Yeah.
It's also about being mindful of the type of content you're consuming and making sure it's aligned with your goals and values.
It's like creating a healthy relationship with technology where you're in control rather than letting it control you.
Exactly. And speaking of healthy habits, the book also emphasizes the importance of lifestyle choices in managing ADHD and VSD. We're talking about those fundamental pillars of well-being: regular exercise, a balanced diet, and prioritizing sleep.
I know these might seem like common sense, but it's easy to underestimate their impact on our mental and emotional well-being, especially for those with ADHD and VS.
Absolutely. Regular exercise, even something as simple as a brisk walk or a bike ride, can help release pent-up energy, improve focus, and even boost mood.
It's like giving your brain a much-needed refresh button.
Precisely. And when it comes to diet, the book emphasizes the importance of nourishing your brain with whole foods, avoiding those sugary processed snacks that can lead to energy crashes and mood swings.
It's like providing your brain with premium fuel rather than those cheap, low-grade options.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget about the importance of sleep for those with ADHD and VST who often have racing minds that make it difficult to wind down. Establishing a consistent sleep routine and creating a calming bedtime ritual can be incredibly helpful.
It's like training your brain to recognize it is time to power down and recharge.
Precisely. And these healthy habits, combined with the strategies we've discussed for creating structure, managing screen time, and leveraging strengths, can make a significant difference in how individuals experience and navigate the world with ADHD and VSS.
It's about moving beyond simply coping and into a space of thriving, right, where these traits become assets rather than obstacles.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important point, that the book highlights the power of mindset. It's about shifting our perspective from seeing ADHD and VARIS as limitations to recognizing them as different ways of experiencing the world, often accompanied by unique strengths and talents.
It's like reframing the narrative.
Right.
Seeing these traits not as something to be fixed or overcome, but as a different operating system that with the right adjustments can achieve amazing things.
Precisely. And this shift in mindset can be incredibly empowering. It allows individuals with ADHD and VSDs to embrace their authentic selves and to find creative ways to navigate the world that honor their unique way of being.
It's about celebrating neurodiversity and recognizing that there's no one right way to think learn or experience the world.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another powerful tool that the book suggests for individuals with ADHD and VSD learning to leverage their strengths. We touched on this briefly in the first part, but it's worth diving a little deeper.
I'm all ears.
Well, the book encourages individuals with ADHD and VST to identify those activities and tasks that they naturally excel at, those things that bring them joy and a sense of flow. It's about finding those areas where their unique way of thinking and processing information becomes an asset.
So it's about playing to your strengths rather than constantly battling your perceived weaknesses.
Exactly. And it's about seeking out environments and opportunities that allow those strengths to shine. For some, it might be a career that embraces creativity and innovation. For others, it might be finding ways to incorporate their passions into their daily routines.
It's about finding that sweet spot where your talents and interests align with the demands of the task at hand.
Precisely. And when that happens, it can be incredibly motivating and fulfilling. The book even suggests exploring tools like the Kolbe Index, which can help individuals pinpoint their natural strengths and preferred mode of operation.
Can you tell us a bit more about the Kolbe Index? It sounds like a valuable tool for self-discovery.
Absolutely. The Kolbe Index is a personality assessment that focuses on identifying an individual's instinctive way of taking action. It helps you understand how you naturally problem solve, interact with others, and approach tasks.
So it's not about labeling you as a certain personality type, but rather understanding your natural strengths and tendencies when it comes to getting things done.
Exactly. And for individuals with ADHD and VSD who often feel pressure to conform to traditional ways of working and learning, the Kolbe Index can be incredibly validating. It helps them understand that their unique approach is not wrong, it's just different.
It's like giving them permission to embrace their authentic selves and to find strategies that work with their natural strengths rather than against them.
Precisely. And speaking of strategies, the book also delves into some specific tips for managing those problematic aspects of ADHD and VAFTA that we discussed earlier, like disorganization, impulsivity, and procrastination.
Those are definitely areas where many individuals with ADHD and VADAS struggle. What kind of advice does the book offer for tackling these challenges?
Well, when it comes to disorganization, the book emphasizes the importance of creating systems that work for you. This might involve using visual organizers, breaking down large tasks into smaller, more manageable steps, and finding ways to externalize those thoughts and ideas that are constantly swirling in your head.
It's like creating an external structure to support that internal whirlwind.
Exactly. And when it comes to impulsivity, the book suggests practicing mindfulness techniques such as deep breathing or meditation to help calm that impulsive energy and create a sense of pause before reacting. It's about learning to observe those impulses without immediately acting on them.
It's like hitting that internal pause button before making a decision, which can be especially helpful in those moments where you might be tempted to say or do something you'll later regret.
Precisely. And finally, for procrastination, the book suggests breaking down tasks into smaller chunks, setting realistic deadlines, and finding ways to make those tasks more enjoyable or engaging. It's about finding strategies that work with your natural tendencies rather than against them.
It's about finding ways to trick your brain into wanting to do the things that you need to do.
Exactly. And it's about celebrating those small wins along the way, which can help build momentum and motivation.
This is also helpful. It's like a toolkit of strategies that individuals with ADHD and VSD can draw from to navigate those everyday challenges.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that there's no one right way to manage ADHD and VSD. It's about finding what works best for you, experimenting with different strategies, and being patient with yourself along the way.
It's a journey of self-discovery, isn't it? Learning to understand your unique brain wiring and finding those strategies that help you thrive.
Precisely, and that brings us to a concept that the book emphasizes repeatedly: the importance of self-compassion. It's about recognizing that you're not alone in your struggles, that it's okay to make mistakes, and that you're worthy of love and acceptance regardless of your challenges.
Self-compassion is such a powerful tool, especially for those with ADHD and VST who often internalize those negative messages from society about being different or not good enough.
Absolutely. It's about challenging those negative beliefs and replacing them with messages of kindness, understanding, and acceptance.
Wow.
It's about treating yourself with the same care and compassion that you would offer to a close friend.
It's like becoming your own best friend, your own biggest cheerleader.
Exactly. And when you cultivate that sense of self-compassion, it can make a world of difference in how you approach your challenges and celebrate your successes.
This deep dive has been so insightful and empowering. We've gone from debunking myths to understanding brain science to exploring practical strategies and cultivating self-compassion. It's like we've taken a journey from feeling overwhelmed and misunderstood to feeling equipped and empowered.
And that's exactly what we hope to achieve to help you, the listener, understand that ADHD and VAST are not limitations, but rather different ways of experiencing the world.
And to show that with the right tools and mindset, those with ADHD and VAST can not only manage, but truly thrive.
Speaking of thriving, we've got one last part of our deep dive to explore. Join us as we wrap up this fascinating journey into the world of ADHD and VAST.
Welcome back to our final segment of this deep dive into the world of ADHD and VAST. We've covered so much ground, from debunking myths and exploring brain science to uncovering practical strategies for managing these traits.
It has been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It really has.
And I think, one of the most important takeaways is that ADHD and VAST are not simply conditions to be managed.
Right.
They represent unique ways of experiencing the world, often accompanied by remarkable strengths and a different kind of brilliance.
Absolutely. And I love how the book doesn't just focus on the challenges, but also celebrates those unique gifts and talents that often come along with these traits.
Yeah.
It's like a reminder to shift our perspective.
Yeah.
From deficit to possibility, from seeing these traits as burdens to recognizing them as strengths.
And the authors pose a thought-provoking question at the end of the book.
Oh, yeah?
Knowing what you now know about ADHD and VAST, what unique strengths and talents do you see in yourself or your loved one that you can nurture and leverage to create a more fulfilling and meaningful life?
That's such a powerful question.
It is.
It invites us to look beyond the labels and to see the incredible potential that exists within each individual, regardless of their neurodiversity.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that there's no one right way to be, and that our differences are what make us unique and valuable.
It's about celebrating those differences and creating a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued for who they truly are.
I think that's a beautiful message. To end on this, Deep Dive has been about so much more than just understanding ADHD and VAST.
It has.
It's been about challenging our assumptions,
Yeah.
embracing neurodiversity, and recognizing the incredible potential that exists within each of us.
Absolutely. And, if you're feeling inspired to delve deeper into this topic, I highly recommend checking out the full book, ADHD 2.0 by Dr. Hollowell and Dr. Rady.
Yes.
It's packed with even more fascinating insights, practical strategies, and inspiring stories.
And don't forget to explore those valuable resources mentioned in the book, such as ADHD Magazine and CHADD.
Yes.
Children and adults with Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, where you can connect with a supportive community and access a wealth of information.
Remember, you're not alone on this journey.
Right.
There's a growing community of individuals, families, and professionals dedicated to understanding and supporting those with ADHD and VAAD.
So embrace your unique way of being, seek out the support you need, and never stop exploring the incredible potential that lies within you.
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep asking questions.